Yeah. First of all, just for the record, could you please state your name and your occupation here?
My name's Marita Ryan, and I'm a parent here. I'm on school council, and I do 6 hours of gardening a week for the school.
Okay. And since when did you start gardening here at Altona Green Primary School?
I've volunteered for the last 6 years. My eldest is in grade 5, and the gardener left, I think about 2 years ago. So I applied for the position and got the position. So 2 years probably.
Not a problem. Now, first of all, with the name Altona Green Primary School, I did research, your school and the details and the profile of the school on the internet.
Mm-hmm.
Is there actually a story behind the green tag for the primary school?
I don't know.
You're not sure?
We are green thumbs now though, so we sort of include that in our name, but I don't know exactly. This area was called, this suburb was actually called Altona Green, but it's now Altona Meadows. So
Okay.
I think the
Estate, yeah.
And then there's Altona Bay, but it's now about probably 6 years ago it got sort of named as Altona Meadows.
Okay.
So there were little pockets obviously when the estates went up. So
Okay.
I'm assuming it was actually Altona Green was the estate.
No problem. Okay. Yeah. And how did you find out about the Visy Effective Disposable Clinic program?
In the local paper.
In the local paper?
A couple of parents that sent the little snippet into the teachers, and then we took it from there. So it was really up to the teachers to drive putting the 25 words. But one teacher in particular, Barb Holmes, she decided that it was a fantastic real-life literacy exercise. So when they did IT, she took them over to the IT lab, and they had to, in their own words, in 25 words or less, write what we're doing here at the school.
Okay.
So there was her class, and then other grade 5, 6s were able to do it, and my son was one of them from another class, and then those 40 students were the ones that were selected to go out into the clinic.
Okay. So how did you actually win the clinic? Was it through the 25 word or?
Barb emailed through her whole class's 25 words, and then the other students emailed theirs, and then we received an email straight back after Barb had done her whole class to say that you're in the running, and then I suppose it was a week later we found out that we'd won the clinic. So.
Okay, and within the 25 words, obviously you explained or elaborated on the programs that you ran at the school to help fight climate change, or?
Yes, I haven't seen the actual wording of what the students did, but asking my son, he talked about that we had the water tanks. He talked about recycling our fruit and vegetables and composting in his 25 words. Not a lot of words to put it in.
No, it's
there were a couple
is
of things that he put in his.
Okay, and I also heard that one of the programs you run is you do turn off lights during breaks and so forth.
Yes.
Are there other indoor activities or indoor programs that the school runs to help save energy?
Off the top of my head, I know we've applied for the federal solar grant, and within that, when they came out, they're wanting to change a lot of our lights over. So we've been successful with our state grant, but we're just waiting on the federal grant. If that's successful, we'll do a revamp of all our lighting. So we'll go from the fluorescent old ones to the new, more efficient ones. And we're also looking at the standby switches, which you can remote control to say 5 or 6 switches, and then you turn them off, which would turn all your computers in a lab off standby and totally off. So we're looking at putting those in as well.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Okay, and with the kids, do you believe they, obviously they're enthusiastic with the gardening. I mean, I would have been if I was back in primary school. Do you see that they're enjoying, they're amused with the, and they're educated by the programs that the school's running? And do you think this will develop their environmental awareness in the future as growing adolescents or adults?
I do believe they enjoy it. A lot of them have said that they've set up little gardens at home, and I think having the kitchen program involved as well, they're actually seeing what they're picking and then cooking it, and they're not forced to try lots of different things, but they, because they've been involved in cooking it, or another group's been involved in cooking it, they're certainly trying a lot more food. So I'm thinking that it is educating them, and we're always talking about putting, the right rubbish into the right bins, and I think a lot of it's going on at home, but a lot of them bring it from home and try and educate us better here and put pressure on other, students. And I know when we didn't have the yellow bins out regularly, they'd often say, well, we use the yellow bin at home, but it's not happening here. So there's pressure both ways, I think. It's coming from home, but it's also filtering back the other way, and we get parents involved, so they're seeing it too in the kitchen and the garden. And that's I think it is slowly, but I think if you do things in a hurry, sometimes
it doesn't work.
I think you just got to chip, and the practical side of it, the fact that they're hands-on, I think that's helping too.
So what you're sort of saying is it's like a ripple effect, isn't it?
Yes.
The kids are going home nagging their parents. The parents are telling them, what they need to do at home, and then they're coming back to school saying there's no yellow bins here.
Yes, and it's a two-way thing. Sometimes they're putting pressure on their parents at home, and other times they're putting pressure on your school, and they've got the avenue through Junior School Council. Each class has a representative from grade 3 up on Junior School Council, so they meet on a regular basis, probably fortnightly, so often issues come back through there, which is a good thing, so they have a voice in the school.
Okay, yeah. And just yourself personally, when did you find the passion or the hobby as a gardener?
I'm from the country up in the Mallee, so I've always had my little garden. I had strawberry patch and peas and things like that at home, so I now we have our own watering tank, we have our own worm farm, I have a little fruit orchard, so I think for me it's been in me for a long time. I'm trying to instill it in my children, so hopefully, even though I've had a country upbringing and they're having a city upbringing, that I can bring some of the country values. And we were big on recycling and reusing back in my day in the country, and I think in some ways we've gone ahead and we've gone into plastic and that pretty quickly, and now it's all turning around. I mean, I can remember when the garbage truck came and we had the old tin rubbish bin with no plastic liner, and yet we've gone to plastic lining, and now it's kind of, let's get rid of plastic bags. So in the country, we were brought up to reuse, recycle, and it was just instilled in us. I think we moved pretty quickly into plastics and plastic wrappers and quick to buy snacks in plastic wrappers, and I think we've got to go back in a lot of ways to and that was, you're talking 30 years ago.
30
so
years
we're kind
ago.
of doing a bit of a cycle, I
believe.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Before the better, obviously.
My day, when I was in the country, we didn't have septic toilets, we didn't have we had the old tin can, so I've come from that era
to now.
Yeah, and I believe we're doing a full circle. Water's become important. In the country, water was important because we had one reservoir, and if that was empty, then the town had no water. So we're going back to a lot of our values, I think. For me, over 30 years, I believe we're going back to a lot of our values that I had as a kid are becoming more important, because I think we moved so quickly into that plastic era, and water was on tap. But in the country, we had our rainwater tank for drinking, and we had the other tap for everything else. And if your rainwater tank ran out, you didn't have drinking water. So we were very, very conscious of it.
Back then, and now it feels like
city life go back to what I was brought up in the country. So yeah.
Now they're becoming aware as well, 30 years on.
I mean, I travelled to Nepal in 1990 with my mum. My mum goes over there often, and I couldn't believe how much they valued water. They would cross a creek and they would do a little signal, and I remember saying, what are they doing? Well, they value water, and you'd be given a bowl of water to wash your hands in, and water to them was so precious back in 1990. And to come back to Australia and everyone just treated water as something that was, always going to be there.
Taken for granted?
Yes, and now we've all of a sudden, it's something we've got to value and precious, and the dams are very low at the moment, so we've got to really think about what we're doing. So
great.
Yeah.
And just briefly, if you can explain, like compost, recycling, the worms, the self-grown vegetables, how does this all help? Small steps, but help fight climate change, help the environment and so forth? Well,
here we don't use any chemicals, so I suppose that in itself going to be helpful. But putting in a lot of native trees and things like that, it's going to obviously help the ozone layer. But if we can teach people to plan in their own yard and I suppose not take from the bigger picture and try and do a lot at home, then there's going to be less demand on
commercial
ways. So yeah, you go back to the old do-it-yourself homemade stuff. And so yeah, I think if we all chip away and do our little bit, I think it's going to help everyone in the long run. Well, we're hoping, aren't we? That's what we've been. It's coming down from the politicians. And
it is, isn't it? It's coming from everywhere, really.
If we all chip in and just do little bits, and that it's going to be help us all long term. So hopefully in 20 years they don't tell us it was the wrong thing to do. We have to have belief in these people that have done studies and that. So yeah.
Great, not a problem. All right, look, thanks.